Well, this is a good game to review on Halloween. Wait. Back in 2001/2002, the technical demo turned full game Luigi's Mansion was released as a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, without featuring Mario as the main playable character. One of the top 5 selling games for the system, it led to a sequel on the 3DS with the subtitle Dark Moon, a game that Video Games for Fun, haven't actually played. There was a long gap of a little over 10 years between the releases of both games, and it looked like it would be many years before another ghost hunting adventure with Luigi would be announced, save for a remake of the first game being released, surprisingly, on the 3DS, not the Switch. Luigi's Mansion 3 then came out on the Switch at the end of October 2019. This game was set to combine elements of the first two games while hopefully doing something different. So let's see if the latest adventure with Luigi by publisher Nintendo and developer Next Level Games is a good belated Halloween experience. We first see Luigi joined by the ghostly dog Polterpup from Dark Moon, and Mario, Peach and a group of toads being invited to a surely awesome hotel known as The Last Resort. It seems like a good spot for a vacation, but Luigi and the others somehow didn't see that it was a trap set up by familiar ghostly antagonist King Boo. With the help of hotel owner Helen Gravely, Luigi finds that his friends are imprisoned in portraits, and eventually finds Professor Egad with the help of Polterpup. From that point on, it is a familiar yet different adventure for Mario's brother as he attempts to suck up all the ghosts with a Poltergust G00 vacuum cleaner, and then some, no matter how much the situation may frighten him. Those who played the previous Luigi's Mansion games will surely find much of the game familiar, especially its gameplay of exploration, puzzle solving, and ghost hunting/combat. However, the game takes place in a hotel this time, and that is not necessarily the only difference. The tone, for one thing, is less like that of the first Luigi's Mansion, and more like its sequel Dark Moon. It is more cartoony with vibrant colours, rather than dark with less lighting without being overly scary for kids. Regardless of that, the game has some of the nicest graphics in the Mushroom Kingdom. It generally runs smoothly, complete with lighting and particle effects, and the animation is fluid. It is full of charm and personality, right down to the many moments where Luigi reacts like a scaredy cat, or the different kinds of ghosts. The sound is nice as well, with characters talking mostly in gibberish outside of basic words such as doggy or character names, which is endearing. There is not much to say about the music other than it's generally nice and non-intrusive, and is full of variety depending on where Luigi is exploring. There are nice little jingles such as the one you hear when you complete a floor. Floors. Completing one after the other is generally how the game is structured, and there are a nice variety of them. Some of the floor settings are almost deliberately un-hotel-like, such as a castle, a pyramid, and a museum. The game's progress is measured by elevator buttons you get generally when you beat the boss of that floor, and it feels exciting and interesting to see each new floor. There are some moments when you have to do backtracking before going to the next floor, for the sake of variety. The exploration is fairly open-ended, with each floor containing lots of stuff to find and collect, and vacuum. Just about every object can be moved, manipulated, or sucked up, with things tumbling about everywhere, leaving plenty of money, treasures, and ghosts around. For those of you who don't know, this game is not really a platformer like the main Mario games are. Luigi can only move around, aiming his flashlight or vacuum cleaner where appropriate. Of course, there are other abilities. There is the strobe bulb flashlight from Dark Moon used to stun ghosts before vacuuming them, as well as the dark light used to uncover hidden objects. Luigi's Mansion 3 features new abilities, such as slamming ghosts into each other while they're being vacuumed, the suction shot plunger used to grab or pull objects, and a burst used to make Luigi jump briefly in the air to create a shockwave. The most notable one is, of course, Gooigi, the green and gooey doppelganger from the 3DS remake of Luigi's Mansion, that you can control independently of Luigi to solve puzzles and help out in combat. But this gooey twin can't go to another room completely, plus he dissolves when coming into contact with water and even fire, or when his limited health bar is depleted when he's not a good ghostbuster. The good thing is, Luigi is playable in co-op, which essentially means you and someone else can play through the adventure together. Given that Luigi can do all the same things as Luigi, including getting ghosts into the poltergust, which is odd, that is pretty cool. In fact, Luigi is imperative to some of the boss battles. Some of these boss fights can be a little tricky. This doesn't necessarily mean you need another player as Luigi to help out, it just means you may have to be patient and think outside the box a little. Still, the boss fights are generally creative, and the solutions to figuring out their weakness are barely recycled. In that regard, however, some new gameplay mechanics would have been nice. There is a powerful add-on for your vacuum cleaner in the game's second half, which feels severely underutilized or limited in context. But still, using all the aforementioned abilities in Luigi are well designed for whatever the game throws at you. While what is said here about the gameplay is all well and good, there are some problems, some of which are unfortunately from previous games. The camera angles can occasionally not show you the details you need to pay attention to. The controls do actually feel a little cumbersome. Granted, it is nice not having to worry about precise platformer jumps, and there are secondary buttons for almost every ability, but aiming with a flashlight and plunger can be annoying some of the time. This can also make the occasional boss fight or item/puzzle gameplay more annoying than it needs to be. And some of the puzzles surrounding the optional 6 gems on each floor feel overly hard. These gems, as well as the Boo Ghosts, don't necessarily provide good rewards outside of the potential for investigating every corner. The game, while addictive, can get a bit repetitive with the overpowered ghost slamming technique and only finding one Boo Ghost on each floor while backtracking after a boss fight, and vacuuming it the same way. Also, the game is really short. Thankfully longer than the first, but still short, taking roughly 10 or so hours if you just go through the ghosts without indulging in the extras. Still, much like the gem and Boo hunting, there is not necessarily any replay value. No hard mode. No additional floors/rooms or mansion or something. You can get different rankings at the end depending on how much money you get and refrain from spending at a Professor Egat's shop on golden bones, that gets your health back when you die instead of a game over, as well as finders for boos and gems. The game's leg is extended, however, with 2 multiplayer modes. The first one is Scarescraper, a mode from Dark Moon where you and other Luigis and Luigis try to clear a number of randomized floors of ghosts and stuff in a time limit. Having not played Dark Moon, this mode can actually be pretty fun and even hilarious at times. There is little to no online lag, and the teamwork that is exemplified in the main story's combination of Luigi and Luigi really sells it, as there are switches that require pretty much all the players to step on, plus allies have to get you out of a trap if you get stuck. Just don't get your message options mixed up when trying to say help. The other multiplayer mode that's new to Luigi's Mansion 3, independent of Scarescraper, is Scream Park, which features 3 minigames that are unfortunately only offline. It basically amounts to teams of Luigis and Luigis competing for the most points. These are only really good for a short thrill, or maybe you just need enough players. Shame I only had for Dalek and I.S. Stark of the Video Games for Fun studio, and they didn't want to play with me. Also, the multiplayer is apparently getting paid DLC as of its upload, but it remains to be seen if it's worth indulging in. What about extras for the main campaign? Long story short, Luigi's Mansion 3 seems to be a mixture of the first 2 games, with its good and bad points now probably coming more so to light as we revisit the series and analyse its changes in direction. There are problems with the gameplay whether it comes down to the controls, puzzles, short length and relative lack of rewards and replay value. That being said, this is a very good package, to the point where you may just have fun revisiting this game, even in co-op or a bit of multiplayer. Those who liked the previous games may also not like the difference in tone to the first game, even though the production values are seriously good, and it can be humorous and even endearing at times, even if it resorts to including the failed Virtual Boy system. Even if you haven't really played a Luigi's Mansion game before, you may even want to consider getting this ghost hunting adventure starring Luigi on your Nintendo Switch.